Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 13 of D.A.R.C, or Does Anyone Really Care? The mini review series where I'm selecting certain cars which seem to be forgotten by most of the GT community. Now, all of the cars in this series, for those of you who maybe haven't watched any of the other episodes, I'm sure that some of you, if not all of you, have tried some of these cars at different points. Maybe you've got one in your garage now, maybe you've never tuned it, maybe you've never driven it, maybe you just haven't used it in ages and you've forgotten about it. Maybe you haven't bought one, or maybe you just didn't realise it was in the dealership. In this episode, as you can see, we're covering the R129 series Mercedes SL, and this one in particular is the SL600. It's a 6-litre V12. I believe it's a 6-litre. Yeah, I think it is. 6-litre V12. If it's not, it's close to it. Fully tuned. You're looking at just over 680 horsepower, so it's pretty good power for an older car. Reasonably heavy. It weighs over 2 tons when you first buy it. With the full weight loss package, it weighs just over 1,500 kilos, so it's still pretty heavy. But it's quite light on its feet, considering its power. And the fully tuned PP is 566. Now, this model that I'm driving here is actually a 560 PP car, which is running significantly less power. It's about 40 horsepower less, because I'm running one of the lower spec exhaust upgrades, because I personally think it sounds better. But what's it like to drive? Is it any good? Because obviously the problem, or a potential problem, with most of the Mercedes cars on Gran Turismo, and on all of the Gran Turismo games as well as 6, is that they're very expensive. A lot more expensive than cars even from other German dealers that have similar PP and similar power. So are they worth all the extra money? Well, I can't remember exactly how much this car costs, but I know it's in the 6-figure region. I think it may be in the 200,000 or 300,000 credit region, if I remember correctly. So it is a very expensive car. So is it worth that kind of money for a car which, as we said, has around 680 horsepower, which is far less than you can get from cars with a lot lower price than that, like the Tommy Kaira or the Supra? Well, if you're looking for pure performance, then obviously no, this Mercedes is not worth the money. Top speed, you're looking at around the 260 region without NOS. Acceleration's pretty good, but it's not record-breaking. Around the track, like I said, it is still pretty heavy. It is light on its feet, though, for a 1,500 kilo car. And it does actually handle very well, I think. It also makes a pretty good drift car, if you want to use it as one. But, that said, it's not a record breaker. It's not going to demolish lap records of things like Ferraris or Lamborghinis. Maybe if you compared them to older Ferraris and older Lamborghinis, but even the models of those, or other models, not just Ferrari or Lamborghini, but if you compare it to other cars of its age, it probably won't beat them in terms of lap times just because of its sheer weight. But it's not a bad car to drive. Like many of the cars that have been featured in this series, I would recommend it mainly just as a car to have as part of your repertoire. You don't need it. It's not one of those cars that I would say, oh, you must get this car, you need it for this certain race or for this certain track. Some cars are just nice to own. Now, I think more so with this car than with most of the other ones in this series, I would say that the SL of this shape is kind of an acquired taste. Because although I personally like the design, I think it's quite a good looking car, I actually personally prefer it to the newer shape SL, the R230 series, I can understand why some people wouldn't like this model, because it does have a design which is very much of its age. The design is very dated. I personally do like it though. I think it kind of looks like the car equivalent of a tuxedo or a fine suit. But that's just me. I can completely understand why certain people wouldn't like this car at all, because at the end of the day, it is very boxy, it's very old looking, and, you know, if you're into more modern cars, you may not like this. But overall, it is a pretty fun car to drive. The handling, as we said, is It is affected by its weight, but it has a nice weight to the steering. It's not undrivable, it's nowhere near. It actually doesn't suffer from much understeer at all, as you'd probably expect it to. Neither is it too slippery, which is impressive considering it's running in this spec over 640 horsepower. It doesn't slide all over the place as some cars with that power do. That is in part due to its weight. It actually makes it more stable. But overall, as I said, I would primarily recommend this car just as a nice car to have in your collection, not necessarily for any specific purpose other than just to drive for fun. This is the kind of car that I'd like to pull out, say on Sierra, in a cruise lobby, just for a change. But don't expect it to break the Nürburgring lap record. So that's it really for the general review of this car. And as always, thanks for watching.